Sometime in 2014, after Chef Ramsay decided to take a step back from a show that got him sick numerous times, he said this in an interview.
I think it's good to stop. I want to get out on top, but more importantly, I want to come back twice as strong.
And what do you know, the cat's finally out of the bag. Kitchen Nightmares is making a grand return after nearly a decade. I don't know about you, but I'm totally psyched to watch our favorite celebrity chef call someone a donut or a donkey again. No, but seriously, according to Deadline, the one and only Gordon Ramsay is gonna take the lead once again in this iconic show. He's already hosting 4 other fantastic series on Fox, including the recently renewed Next Level Chef. And it's not just for 1, but 2 more seasons. But nothing could beat the fact that Kitchen Nightmares is coming back. By the way, this time around, the show is going to be produced by Studio Ramsay instead of ITV Studios America. But obviously, it'll still maintain the same awesome concept. Now, let's just straight up admit that there isn't going to be another Amy's Baking Company episode. But does Chef Ramsay intend to revisit the owners for an update? Well, it's actually more likely than you'd expect. Anyway, for those of you who have been living under a rock, here are some basics about the show. It was originally known as Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares in the UK, but the American version made its debut on Fox back in 2007. The show went on to grace our screens with nearly 100 episodes across 7 seasons. Each rescue was a nail-biting adventure, but it all came to an end in 2014. During this period, Chef Ramsay witnessed some of the craziest stuff ever. I'm talking neglected refrigerators like these.
Chicken after chicken, 50 packs of meat, and whoever's buying it needs to be fired.
Or food that cost an arm and a leg but wasn't worth it.
Oh my God, they're gonna be responsible for poisoning the whole of fucking Queens.
Or even cooking practices that made you question your life choices.
Look, dead. Decomposed, soft, dead. And yes, there's more.
And oh, of course, let's not forget treating employees and customers like garbage.
You're being a fucking asshole. This wasn't like this.
You stuck-up, precious little bitch. Let me tell you something.
Oh boy.
As you could see, it was a hot mess. Despite all the madness and chaos, Ramsay was determined to bring these failing businesses back to life. However, let's not forget the horror that he had to endure. From ungrateful owners trying to sue him with false charges, to lazy chefs serving him food that was practically a health hazard, he had reached his breaking point. And could you blame the guy? Imagine being away from your own restaurant and having to eat garbage cooked by chefs who thought they could be the next famous chef. Well, no one said it better than Chef Ramsay.
To be away from such amazing food, to go and eat shit that's cooked by a Muppet that thinks he's the next Gordon Ramsay.
The final straw came when he visited Bella Luna in Easton, Pennsylvania. The production team actually had Ramsay go back to the place one more time before they officially called it quits. By the way, if you want to revisit this episode, don't forget to check it out on my channel right here. Anyway, back in 2017 in an interview with the Daily News, Ramsay admitted that ending the show was a big mistake. He said, "Yeah, it was wrong to pull my own show off the air, but that's it. The biggest demand over the last 4 years was for Kitchen Nightmares to come back. And boy did we demand it. Now, we don't have an official premiere date for the revival yet, but don't worry. In the meantime, you can relish in the glory of classic episodes by streaming them online if you're willing to splurge a little bit of money. But obviously, you could watch my videos for free." Now, if you've probably noticed, Chef Ramsay has a personality on screen that tends to be pretty polarizing. Many people think that he's rude and whiny. Like this person right here, who thinks that he's a grade A douche. Like, really? In my opinion, Ramsay is an absolute gem. I mean, have you ever heard about what he did for Scooter from the Cambridge Hotel? If not, then you better check out my video. And oh, here's another Ramsay hater who thinks he's a male Karen. I wonder why people get so personal with it. Plus, it isn't just the general public. Even celebrity chef Eric Ripert joined in when he criticized Chef Ramsay's TV tactics. He spoke out against Ramsay's behavior showcased on shows like Hell's Kitchen and Kitchen Nightmares. He despises how he screams, insults, and humiliates people. Ripert believes that we shouldn't take pride in such behavior and that it sends the wrong message. In fact, he thinks that it shouldn't be on TV at all and we should actively fight against it. While most haters paint Ramsay as a shouty, arrogant chef, some actually think that he's something different. They believe that he's playing into the age-old media stereotype of British people playing the villain in movies. I'm gonna be honest here, there's a world of difference between the US and UK version of the show. In the UK one, the crew was heavily involved in the production. On the other hand, the US version is handled by Mark Burnett, the guy behind shows like Survivor and The Apprentice. Once again, in the UK version, Ramsay is much calmer and there's no melodramatic background music. I mean, just look at this. It's probably exactly how it was in real time.
You shouldn't be in a fucking kitchen if you don't know what's right and what's wrong in that sense.
But that's not on Chef Ramsay, right? You see, the producers of the US version are just catering to an audience that loved drama. So they created a personality that would sell. And guess what? It worked. Several viewers suggested that the tone and content of the US version may be influenced by the network and production team. The edgy language that's used is to attract and retain viewers. I mean, things do get pretty interesting, right? How many times have you seen outbursts like this on any TV shows?
I can't teach you that. That's called common sense. That in your tiny mind is not common.
According to this Redditor, the general American equates loud and mad with smart and successful, so the network wants to portray that archetype as much as possible. Do you agree with this notion? Let me know in the comment section down below. One way or another, I think this definitely helped with his success. In truth, when you see Chef Ramsay portrayed anywhere else, he's calm, collected, and even has a witty, satirical sense of humor. Tim George, technical director at ABC Television Network, says that one of his friends was on the set of Chef Ramsay's show, and the producers would tell him to be angry and crude. After each take, Chef Ramsay would submissively ask something like, "How is that, guys?" Honestly, that seems legit to me because I've hardly seen Ramsay get mad on MasterChef. Even if he does, it's just for a few seconds and he's back to his calm self.
Set the place on fire. What? No, it's not funny.
Apparently, this friend also claimed that the famous chef has a charming and humble personality. And it's not like we've never seen that happen on the show before.
I don't want you to get upset. Please.
Even if it's all hearsay, you know what? It's completely understandable why he adopts such a harsh demeanor on the show. When you consider the horrifying conditions and the defensive attitudes he encounters, it's no wonder he brings in the heat. I mean, he's dealing with restaurants that are terrible and owners and chefs who aren't only combative but closed off to change. Do you remember this time when a chef refused to eat Ramsay's food?
Doug, one more chance. You sure you don't want to taste that? Positive.
God, I'd feel offended if something like that happened to me. If you've noticed, Chef Ramsay tends to reserve his shouting and swearing for certain situations. And I literally can't stress it enough that he saves it for when there's a real risk of someone getting hurt. Just like he did in this episode.
Serving pork bone in the sauce to a vegetarian.
I mean, we're talking about things that could literally kill people here, so I understand why he gets so fired up. And it's not like that's never happened on the show before. Remember the time when the staff had to call emergency services to save a customer's life?
Guy had some lobster and he has a reaction to it. The gentleman sit down.
And let's not forget, if someone goes on the show asking for his help because their business is failing, it's only natural that he might get a little heated if they turn out to be an argumentative brat. Remember this time when the owner Billy said that he wouldn't even talk to his dog like Chef Ramsay did with him?
I wouldn't talk to my dog the way you talk to me. Go fuck yourself.
I'll make it work myself without his help.
I mean, come on. You specifically sought his assistance, and then you're gonna be all difficult and resistant? I think Chef Ramsay's tough approach serves a purpose. All he's trying to do is shock these owners out of their complacency and push them to improve. It's like a wake-up call, a necessary jolt to shake things up and get them back on track. In a way, his fiery personality and demanding standards are a response to the challenging circumstances he encounters. For example, let's take a look at a restaurant from the very first season. It featured Seascape, situated on the beautiful northeastern coast. This eatery was open since 1962 and was run by a mother-son duo. But there was more than just an ego clash and a problematic chef going on here.
What do you find so funny, Charlie? What do you find? What's funny for you?
As Chef Ramsay delved deeper, he discovered that the real issue was her son Peter and his emotional struggles. Things reached a boiling point during a confrontational scene involving Chef Ramsay, Peter, and his mother Irene. Even Irene couldn't help but call out her son for not stepping up and taking responsibility in the business.
Close the fucking doors if you don't like him. Take charge. This is what he's looking for, a man.
In a surprising turn of events, Chef Ramsay decided to tackle Peter's emotional problems head on. He came up with a rather unconventional method to help Peter confront his issues, a boxing ring. Yeah, you heard that right. Ramsay created a cathartic space for Peter to face his emotional demons.
I did what I've been doing my whole life, keeping the peace and keeping myself down.
Once inside the ring, there was an exchange of both tough love criticisms and inspiring pep talks. It was a weirdly touching and transformative moment. Peter was challenged with overcoming his emotional obstacles and taking charge of his role in the restaurant. This episode truly showcased the multifaceted approach that Ramsay takes in helping struggling businesses. It's not just about fixing the kitchen or revamping the menu. It's about addressing deeper personal issues that can hinder success. Remember this belly dancer / owner named Rishi who got a complete makeover?
Wow, you look amazing.
Thanks. I love it. How's my hair look?
So, you see, it's not just about the restaurant. In this episode, when Alan Saffron's son Daniel had to fire the incompetent chef David, he broke down. Instead of attacking Daniel for the choices made by his parents, who were ultimately responsible for the theft and mismanagement, he did something else. Well, he recognized that Daniel was caught in the middle of it all. He stepped in to help Daniel pull himself together and take charge.
I don't want him to do. I've been wanting to just stay by the register and just run bills.
Throughout the process, Chef Ramsay showed compassion and made it clear that Daniel wasn't at fault for the past. He provided the support and guidance needed to rebuild and move forward. And this is what makes Kitchen Nightmares so captivating. There's a combination of culinary expertise, raw emotion, and life-changing moments that unfold before our very eyes. In fact, there's a long-running joke among the show's fans that Chef Ramsay is a part-time chef and a full-time psychologist. And I can't help but agree. Like this time right here, when he tried to resolve the issues of the owners at Grasshoppers.
We need to start getting Mitch back and help him ascertain some form of pride.
If you ask me, Kitchen Nightmares is a delight to watch, and there are so many hilarious moments as well. For instance, in this episode, at Sante La Brea, he literally fed his meal to a dog.
Look, smell, Tubbs. There you go.
Yeah, it was that bad. But there's one question that people seem to have: is the show real? To clarify this, let me talk about a restaurant named Oceana, which sued the show because they thought that the producers made them look bad. So, does the owner claim that something as horrifying as this was planted?
I couldn't do it because of these little fuckers here.
Now, here's the thing. While Kitchen Nightmares is a heavily produced show, it's not staged. You can't possibly believe that the show's producers plant all the grease, grime, rodents, and frozen food. Oh, and turns out, the chef's insults, which some of us find witty and sometimes aggressive, aren't scripted at all. In fact, in a Reddit AMA, Chef Ramsay confirmed this himself. He says that it just happens in the spur of the moment. He explained that he simply gets whatever he needs off his chest. It's just something that his mom taught him, to speak his mind. Well, I hope he continues to be his unfiltered, candid self in the upcoming season as well, since that's exactly what I'm looking forward to. Adam Rauscher, who worked on 3 episodes of the show, said that the show is all about entertainment. And while nobody is faking their emotion, the way the show is made puts their hearts on their sleeves. He also added by saying that the show used way less manipulation as compared to other reality shows. In other words, he meant that all of the scenes you actually see happened and the emotions are real. He summed it up by saying that the goal of the show is to show real people under real pressure. Now, let's reveal whether or not he's gonna revisit our favorite owners, Amy and Sammy. Let's take a look at what Chef Ramsay thinks. In the Reddit AMA, he was asked if he had any contact with Amy's baking company. He replied by saying, "Are you mad?" Well, that was the only time he chose to walk away from a restaurant without actually helping them. Today, when he sees the owners still facing the heat for their behavior on the show, Chef Ramsay feels sorry for them because it's just not right. These are real people with real feelings, although they're one of a kind. So there's your answer. Sounds like he's gonna steer clear from the restaurants that gave him a hard time. Now, let's talk about the many claims that this show was unsuccessful. Now, I am a glass half full kind of guy, and I choose to focus on the fact that it's been more than a decade since Kitchen Nightmares first aired. So, it's totally normal for some of the featured restaurants to close their doors. And you even have the pandemic to blame for throwing a few restaurants off the map. Plus, of course, there's the fact that the owners chose to revert back to their old ways. The way I look at it, I think without any intervention, 100% of them would have closed down. Miss Jean's Southern Cuisine closed down in October of 2022, a whole decade later. That's certainly not too shabby and really impressive. And take Lido di Manhattan for example. They've managed to build a thriving business even after the show and are still kicking ass. They've proven that the changes and guidance from Chef Ramsay made a lasting impact. And they opened another restaurant as well, which is just as good. To me, Ramsay is truly a master at pushing people past their breaking point and helping them reach that crucial turning point. Having worked in a cutthroat environment throughout his entire career, he knows firsthand the challenges and criticisms that come with running a successful restaurant. That's why he has little patience for those who refuse to acknowledge their mistakes. Ramsay understands what it takes to make a restaurant thrive, and he's willing to extend his help to anyone who shows true dedication and a willingness to change. But he needs to see that commitment from them firsthand. Just last year, he had some pretty candid words about the impact of the pandemic on the restaurant industry. In an interview with former Shadow Chancellor Ed Balls from Radio Times, he said, while the past couple of years have been devastating for the hospitality sector, there's a silver lining. The crap's gone. He believes that the challenges brought about by the pandemic have forced everyone in the food industry to up their game. Chef Ramsay expressed that the business was in a dire state, but it's gradually improving. He also didn't shy away from calling out specific establishments, referring to them as shitholes, taking advantage of their prime locations and foot traffic. However, he believes that the pandemic has essentially wiped the slate clean, giving the industry a chance to start fresh. One interesting point that he made was that customers have become more discerning and knowledgeable about food during the past 2 years. With many people experimenting with their own culinary creations like sourdough bread, customers have become smarter and more demanding. This, in turn, has pushed the entire restaurant industry to elevate their standards and shed any lingering arrogance. So that's one more reason why I'm looking forward to watching this new season. There are several restaurants I can think of that desperately need Chef Ramsay's help. Do you have any suggestions? Because who knows, maybe the show might feature restaurants from your neighborhood in the future. And guess what? You can now join my Discord server for free, but we also have one for exclusive members. There, we can go on at length about what restaurants might make it to the new season. Can't wait to see you there. Until then, if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. Also, if you thought this was crazy, then wait till you see my next video right here. It's even crazier.